Anyway, it was just kind of important because I really just wanted to don't talk about that weird piece of hair back here, okay? We're not going to talk about it. Leave it alone. Don't look at it. Hi guys, what's up? It's me, Audra, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm not sure how you got here, but certainly I'm glad you came. And if you are new here, well then, you're in for a treat. All right, if you are into chaotic, frenetic energy, I suggest you go ahead and subscribe now. And while you're doing that, like the video. Let's not wait to the end. It's Terror Tuesday, guys. Also, my socials are here, all over the place. All right, so Terror Tuesday. If you're new, I am a horror lover. I love horror movies. I love all things horror related, all things creepy, all things spooky. My lips are so ashy. All right, I'm back with less ashy lips. Terror Tuesday is where I enjoy horror movies and talk about it with you guys while I do something to this face. So get ready. Things are gonna get creepy. As it is my birthday week, I thought I would take us all the way back to 1998's The Faculty. This was written by Kevin Williamson and it was directed by Robert Rodriguez. For those of you who don't know, I think he was once engaged to Rose McGowan. Rose McGowan. Get shook, I remembered more names. Now this movie starred some pretty big names. I'm gonna grab my notes right quick before I get to putting on makeup because I wanna make sure I get all of them because this movie has everybody. It had Elijah Wood, Josh Hartnett, Sean Hatosy.
Call me bro.
Jordana Brewster, Clea Duvall.
Hello, call me girl.
Laura Harris, Robert Patrick, Bebe Neuwirth, Piper Laurie, Famke Janssen, Usher Raymond, yes, that Usher, yes, DJ's Got Us Falling in Love, Usher, Salma Hayek, and Jon Stewart. Do you hear that cast? These sleeves are gonna make me insane, but I wanted to be cute. It's my birthday week. This film was made for $15 million, but worldwide grossed $63.2 million frickin' dollars. Yes, so listen, if you're young and you weren't around when this came out, watch it now. It's good. It's probably on every streaming source possible. All right, now let's get into the makeup portion of this party. So this movie was more of a modern take on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is a classic without the noise. If you're old enough, you know what I'm talking about. Elijah Wood, and if you're new, I never remember the names of characters, so I just end up calling them by their actual names. So you see the school, it opens up, and you see the school, and you can definitely tell that this is a 90s high school. You've got the fighting couple who you just see like all they do walking through the halls is fight. They like literally all they do is walk through and fight. And then, of course, you have the jocks. Jesus. Windy and it's causing a lot of these doors to slam. But you also have the jocks, you have the goths, you have the nerds, you have the cheerleaders, you know, and of course you have the outcasts. And you are introduced to all the characters this way. So it's like you have the jocks and you're introduced to, of course, Usher plays a jock, guys. Don't get it twisted, of course. So Usher plays one of the jocks and so does Sean Hatosy.
Looking fine as fuck, Sean Hatosy.
My love of the Gingers goes way back. So anyhow, you have, all of them are introduced. Sean Hatosy is a jock. Usher's a jock. Jordana Brewster is, of course, like she's a cheerleader. She's like smart. I don't know. I don't Jordana Brewster. We're not going to talk about it. Anyway, she's a cheerleader and she's like attractive and she does some shit for the newspaper or something. I don't really know exactly what she does. She's mostly just attractive and broody. Like she's just like,
I'm Jordana Brewster, bitch.
We're like, okay. Like I'm not gonna argue with her, are you? So then, of course, she's dating Sean Hatosy. I've got to tell you who everybody is dating. Usher, of course, is the, 98. It was 98. So he was just the black guy. He was the token black guy, but he, obviously isn't dating anybody because there's not another black person in that school, yo. Clea Duvall she definitely plays the outcast. And of course, since it was the 90s, calling somebody a lesbian or the D word rhymes with bike was, the ultimate form of like humiliating a woman, even if she was. It was just weird that was the thing. Like, what are you? And you're like,
yeah.
And of course she did that because that became our whole calling card back in the day, was like if a guy hit on you. And then his whole thing was like, what are you, gay? Or what are you, a lesbian? What are you, a bike? And you would just be like, yes, because it made it so much easier. What's funny about that is it stopped being insulting, because literally it got you out of any guy really talking to you. Like you were able to very quickly be like,
yeah, bye.
they're like the football team. I don't know who everybody else is, but they'll come into play as we move along. Oh, wait, Josh Hartnett. All right, he is also an outcast. He is a bad boy. And he is fine AF with the strangest haircut. I really don't know. Like, even in the 90s, that was a weird haircut. But it was like a shortened version of Sonic the Hedgehog's haircut. Like, I'm not kidding. I should insert a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog instead of, like, actually I'm going to put a picture of both of them so you can compare. But he had this, like, strange haircut. It was supposed to be sexy, I guess. I mean, it doesn't matter. It worked. We were all gagging over him. We were like, oh my God, who is that? Josh Hartnett. So, anyhow, he's in it. And he sells, and this is, you have to pay attention to it, but he sells like some kind of speed concoction that he makes. And it goes in ballpoint pens, ballpoint pens. You know those pens, big pens back in the day that everybody used to fight over? They were plastic, and you could like pull he sells drugs in those. And he apparently steals the supplies from the school. So he is there, and then Famke Janssen, she plays a teacher. She's very, very mousy, and she hates the way Josh Hartnett is such a douchebag to her. Every time she tells him to do something, he's just like,
what are you going to do about it, teach?
And she's like, don't be so mean to me. Stop it. So, and he just continues being a douchebag because he's Josh Hartnett, and he's like the guy at school. You know what I mean? Like, he has all the connections. He's very attractive. We had some unhealthy things happening in the 90s between teachers and students. I don't really want to get into it. But the point of the matter is, am I using a weird fucking brush to do whatever I want? Yes. So then it opens with Elijah Wood. Well, not opens, but then it moves to like the football practice. And I believe The Kids Are Alright is playing at this point in time by The Offspring. Chances are. Okay, so that's playing, and then Elijah Wood is like taking pictures of the football team because, obviously he's a nerd, and nerds do that. Nerds are always doing nerd things. They're always like, on school papers, or like photographers. Like, I don't know why that's like what nerds do. Like, they act like nerds don't have any other interests.
We do.
Anyhow. And then he finds this like fucking bug, and he takes it to his teacher, Jon Stewart. Yes, The Daily Show Jon Stewart, who, phenomenal in this movie, you guys, phenomenal. And so Elijah Wood comes in, and he's like, hey, Jon Stewart, or Mr. Stewart. And he's like, Mr. Stewart, I found this fucking bug. And so Jon Stewart's like, cool. And they're playing with the bug, and they're kind of like cutting it or whatever. And then like it gets some water on it, and it goes, and that was the exact motion. So it gets some water on it, and it goes like that, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And you are also like, what the fuck? Because, let me try to get it a little bit closer so you can see how horrible I'm doing. Sorry about that. Then he ends up just dunking the whole bug in the water, and it's like, oh my God, and it like spreads out, it gets talons and shit, and it even bites Jon Stewart. It's like, and Jon Stewart's like, okay, well, let's study this weird ass bug. And you're like, I feel an ominous feeling about this bug. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't feel good about this bug. Just watching it, you don't like the bug. Anyhow, things start going on, and you're like sitting there watching. Oh, and a new girl comes. I don't know who she's played by, but we're just going to call her New Girl. Blonde country New Girl. She's like, Mary Beth is her name. Oh, guys, I remembered one.
Get shook.
So Mary Beth is her name. Mary Beth Louise Hutchison, I think is her name in the movie. What the fuck is going on that I remember all that? And, and she's like, hi, I'm Mary Beth Louise Hutchison. I'm from wherever the fuck I am. And, da-da-da-da-da. And she tries to befriend Clea Duvall, whose character name is Stokely. This is coming back to me. And because they're being mean, like, New Girl is trying to meet people, and they're like, oh, well, only be friends with Stokely if you want to play for the other, or if you play for the same team or some bullshit. Like, they're just being mean about it. And Stokes is just like, whatever.
You filthy bitches.
Like, seriously, I got all my best 90s angst from her. Like, my whole attitude became like... So New Girl's there, and then you start noticing some changes in the school. Elijah Wood notices first because he feels like something strange is happening at the school. He's like, something weird is going on here. And everybody's like, listen, nerd, if we wanted your opinion, we would beat it out of you. Meanwhile, Sean Hatosi is having, a conscious, like an attack where he's just like, I want to be known for more than football, because that was a really big 90s thing for you to not be known as just the jock or just the cheerleader. And it was really important that it was specifically the popular people who felt like maybe they had too much, So it was a thing. It's kind of fucked up now that I think about it. Like, the popular kids are over there like, I just don't know what to do with being so fucking awesome. So anyhow, the kings and queens of popularity are just like generally having a rough time, and what's her face, Jordana Brewster, is also, she is like talking to, his name is Stan. So Sean Hatosi's character is named Stan. He's dating Jordana Brewster, and Jordana is just like, yeah, so football, we're gonna do the thing. And he's like, I don't know, bitch. I kind of want to like be smart. And she's like, being smart isn't your thing, bro. And he was like, that's a low blow, bitch. And she was like, and? Because she was bitchy. So then he's kind of upset or whatever. And you kind of see that like Stokely has been like eyeing him for a little bit. Like, eye fucking him, like. And so she's been doing that. We're not going to talk about that whole thing that just occurred. We're going to move past it. So anyhow, she's like over there. You can see that she's been eyeing him. And I think that at some point, like, I don't know, that might come to a head. Anyhow, you just start noticing some things shifting in the school. Like, the school starts getting weird. All of a sudden, people are like acting differently. Specifically, that angry fighty couple, they're not fighting anymore. And they were always fighting. Like, their whole thing was fighting. Their entire presence was like, fuck you, dude, no, fuck you. And she was like always punching him in the chest, which don't recommend. Ladies, don't hit your men. So, that was their whole relationship, and they're not really doing it. And Elijah Wood is getting hella suspicious now. He's like, so he's getting very suspicious. He's getting a little concerned. And you know what? So are you. And you feel like it might be that fucking bug. And then Elijah Wood starts telling the whole Scooby Gang. I don't know how they all come together about this, but Elijah Wood ends up telling the whole Scooby Gang. He's like, Scooby Gang. And they're like, yeah. Oh my God, he just farted. He's like, Scooby Gang. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I don't think that these people are who they say that they are. And they're like, whatever, dude, we don't believe you. And he's like, I'm telling you, something weird is happening at the school. Nobody believes him for a little bit, but then, Famke Jensen, who plays hot ass, well, now she's hot ass teacher. She was meek teacher, now she's rolling up to school looking fine as fuck. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that when Elijah Wood and Jordana Brewster were like doing some shit for the paper, they end up finding like this one old teacher like dead in a closet. And Elijah Wood is like, I'm calling my fucking police. My fucking police? I think he was calling his parents and the police. And they were like, kid, you're wrong. And he was like, no, this happened. And they're like, it didn't. And then the body's not there when the police come. They're like, oh, these overactive imaginations of these crazy ass 90s teenagers. That's going to become relevant again later. So now let's get back to where we were, which was discovering the truth. So now we're finding out the truth. And the truth is, they go to see Jon Stewart, and he's like, Mr. Stewart, some shit's going weird. And Mr. Stewart's like, what do you mean? He's like, I need the fucking bug. And Mr. Stewart's like, I can't give you the bug. And he's like, I really need the bug. And Mr. Stewart's like, I can't give you the bug. And he's like, Mr. Stewart, you're being weird. And Mr. Stewart's like, what the fuck do you mean? And he starts going, blah, blah, blah. I don't exactly know what happens, but Mr. Stewart is one of the things. He's invasion body snatched. Body snatch. And guess what? He was right. He's got tentacles and shit.
Fucking tentacles.
Now, I tell you what, if one of my teachers came at me with tentacles, I'm not trying to save anybody. I'm sorry. I'm leaving the town. I'm leaving the town behind. I'm leaving my parent. I'm leaving everybody behind. My teacher has tentacles. Thank you. Goodbye. So anyhow, the Scooby Gang is like, the fuck. Also, by the way, Josh Hartnett, this is what like really sealed him as like a teen heartthrob. So what happens is they're all like, Mr. Stewart, what the fuck? And he's all like, oh. And Josh Hartnett has been in this like science closet or whatever, and he's in the closet because he's collecting his supplies. Remember I told you he steals them from the school? So he's collecting his supplies, and then he's in there with Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson, whatever her name. So he's in there with her, and she is just like, and you think that they're gonna make out, and you're kind of annoyed because like, of course that kind of girl would want to steal the one guy in the school that I would have a chance with. Wait, we're talking about the movie. Anyway, so she's in there, and then they can hear them like having their altercation with Mr. Stewart. And then as things start getting kind of sleazy in there, Josh Hartnett is the one who comes in. Don't remember his character name because he's fucking Josh Hartnett. So anyway, Josh Hartnett comes in, and he's like, oh my God. Has this moment in the movie where it's in slow-mo. Slow motion, baby. Don't worry, this is gonna work out. He has this moment in the movie where he gets a cutting board. Do y'all remember those? Like the paper cutting board things with that you had to go with. It was very dangerous and scary. We all kind of joked that we were gonna hack somebody up with it. He does. Slow motion, he like uses his raw brute strength, breaks the like handle off. It's like whooshing. You see like the springs fly off of it, and he uses it and goes wha-cha on Jon Stewart. And that is how we find out about like the tentacles. Anyway, now the whole Scooby Gang, now that we're caught up again, now the whole Scooby Gang is over there, and they're all like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Our whole school is being inundated with these fucking things. Like everybody's acting weird. And they're like, I don't know. We've got to go home, or we can't go home. I don't exactly know. But they're like super nervous, and they're like, what do we do about this? And they're coming together with a plan because they don't exactly know what to do, but they realize they're like, oh my God, it's football time. Also, I do believe Robert Patrick, he's one of the first teachers to get hit up with the shit, okay? He is one of the very first teachers to get hit up with the shit. And he, like the bugs like crawl into your like ear or some shit. And then when they crawl into your ear, it's like, I don't know, like your ear bleeds a little bit. And that's why that old ass teacher died. Like, because she was too old to handle the transformation. So, you know what happens when bitches get like hella old? Apparently we don't make it into being invaded by an alien, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I am telling this in like 47 different directions, but we're gonna get there. And you know what? That's why you should watch the movie yourself, because my retellings are out of order at best. So anyway, they realize that there's a football game. They're all like super stressed and nervous, and they're like, okay, we've got to figure out like a game plan. So anyway, they go to figure out a game plan. And they go over, and somehow they figure out, I can't remember, maybe it was with Mr. Stewart, but somehow they figure out that Josh's like fake drugs,
Guaranteed to jack you up.
his fake drugs are, it's basically caffeine, guys, by the way. It's just caffeine. It's not real drugs. He's not a real drug dealer. He's a good guy. Oh my God, yes. So anyway, they basically find out that his like weird little wonder drug, like affects the bugs. They get all mad. I'm gonna call them the bugs. They're space aliens, I guess, but I'm just gonna call them the bugs. So once he realizes, he's like, oh my gosh, it affects the bugs. He's like, okay, we can go back to my house and get more of this shit because I can like make some more too. And they're like, okay. But they start going, okay, well, they get there and they're like, wait, we have spread out and shit. How do we know if we're not one of the creatures? And they're like, I don't know. And then of course somebody's like, we got to do the drugs. So now they have a plan. Everybody is going to snort the shit. It's going to be a party. So I am so ridiculous. So are we literally about to have a super weird fucking party with like drugs? Yes, it was the 90s, guys. It was the 90s. This was not unusual behavior. Anyhow, we're about to get down and be like, ha 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 ha, with some drugs. It's gonna be great. And everybody's sitting there and, oh, good gravy. I'm gonna cut that out. So then there they are at Josh Hartnett's home, which, by the way, it seems like he's got a tragic life. Like, he's a rich kid, but his parents aren't really home. Like, he has a nice home or whatever, and he's super fucking smart, but like his parents aren't home, which is why he acts out. And that was another trope of the 90s. Like, your fucking absent parents make you into a dick. Okay, so anyway, there he is. They're all there, and he's like, okay, we got to take these drugs, and I'm going to make more drugs. But first, we got to make sure that everybody in here is like a human. And they're like, okay. So actually, there's a bit of a fuss about it. But anyway, Elijah Wood, who was the one who really discovered all this shit, and at first nobody believed him, but now they're like,
Who's the nerd now, bitches?
he goes ahead and snorts the shit first. And he's all like sitting there and he's like, and then of course comes one of my favorite things. It's like when he starts coming up on the shit, he starts like giggling a lot. And they're like, what's wrong with him? Ooh, I'm getting like uneven. Wait, let me just fix this damn shirt. Fucking bird shoulders. Anyhow, they're like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? And then Josh Hartnett is like, he's tweaking, man.
Let him tweak.
And then Elijah Wood is like, tweaking. And this is why I ended up trying drugs. No, just kidding. So I'm going to hell. They're all going through one by one now to make sure nobody has been invaded. Then you get to, you guessed it, Jordana Brewster. And Jordana Brewster's like, no fucking way I'm doing these drugs. And neither is Mary Beth. And you're like, which you kind of thought Mary Beth might be it because you were like, Mary Beth has freaking, she's new. She's new to town. She's new. That's fucking creepy. But you know what happens? Oh, let me go back. Anyway, they're trying to figure out what's going on. And Stokely is the one who says, you know, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And she was like, everybody gets so hung up on the fiction part of science that they don't pay attention to the science. What, bitch? Yeah, she's spitting fire knowledge. So she gets in there and starts explaining like how the Invasion of the Body Snatchers works and how they're going to save their town. Save their town. And she's like, you just got to kill the queen, according to all the science fiction ones. She's like, maybe some of this shit has happened before and people like wrote this shit down. Wouldn't that be a trip? 1984, anyone? Anyway, so they're all sitting there and they're doing their drugs. We're back into the tweaking and everything's getting weird. And Jordana Brewster's like, I'm not putting that shit in my nose, Josh Hartnett. And Josh Hartnett is like, yes, the fuck you are. And you too, Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson. And she's like, no. And then they're like, do it. And then they're like, we'll do it together. And so they both go to do it. And you see Mary Louise snorts it, right? She's like, ugh. And then you know what happens? Popular bitch Jordana Brewster's like, now, and she fucking takes off. You know why? Because she has been snatched. All right, so now they know the popular chick is one of them, and they're like, we're gonna have to do this without her. And Elijah Wood is like, fucking A, like he's no longer like all fucked up anymore because, you know, shit got real. And as you all know, as soon as shit gets real, especially when it comes to like being invaded by aliens, you're gonna wake the fuck up. So the shit is now getting real, and he's just like, oh snap, and everybody is like no longer on drugs. And also she knocked over the entire supply of drugs, bitch. So then they're like, okay, we have the football game tonight, which we alluded to earlier, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And he's like, well, Josh Hartnett says, okay, well, I still have more of this shit like at school, so we'll just grab like the last of my stash there, and that should be enough. We better pray, hope and pray that we do this shit right. You know what I mean? It's like we gotta put up or shut up, fools. Put up or shut up. That was back in the Nike Just Do It days, okay? So now they're in a mad dash to get to the school because, girl, you better believe they are not interested in getting snatched by these things. It's uncool. They're in the school, they're wandering about, and guess who should show up? But Famke Janssen. Super sexy teacher now. She's so sexy. In fact, she like embarrassed the hell out of Josh Hartnett's character at some point in the movie because he's like, what the fuck are you gonna do, ma'am? And that's also how he ended up believing Elijah Wood because she had completely changed and she was like talking shit about him, talking shit about his parents.
Ouch.
Painful. So now that she's all like super bitch, he's just kind of over there like, and then she shows up. They get into some super battle. Oh, son of a bitch. I used a little bit of the wrong color, so we're just going to go with that. So he is like getting into some super battle, and she's in the car with him because he has to get in the trunk of his car. He makes the others go inside to like get some other shit. I can't exactly remember why. And I think they're looking for the queen. Duh. They're looking for the queen. So he makes them all go inside, and he's like, I'm going to take care of this teacher. And then they're in this like battle. Okay, we're back to the battle now. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at this. And then he's getting in the car, getting the extra shit. And then like in the battle, somehow like they're driving, or he's kind of driving, and as he's like in the car, he buckles the seatbelt, which is still a very signature move today, because he buckles his seatbelt and then rams into something, and she goes flying out of the car, and he's like, I win, bitch. And she's like, headless, okay? Headless. But don't worry, as he looks over into the flames of everything, her head is crawling towards her body. You're welcome for that imagery. Things are getting more than a little bit out of hand, as you can tell. Josh Hartnett goes back into the building, and then they're in there with Mary Beth Louise, whatever. And Sean Hatosi has been taken over too. And Stokely is very upset because Stokely and Sean Hatosi seem to, I was thinking that maybe I remembered his character name. I didn't. Stokely and Sean Hatosi are getting on so well, and it's so sweet. And they're like, I love you, kind of. Like, oh. Okay, first, can we just bow our head to the brow goddess today because she blessed me. Blessed me. Back to the story. So now, who isn't one of those things? Right now, all we have is Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson, Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood isn't one of them, and Clea Duvall. She's it. This is it. This is all who's left. This is all we've got to save humanity. It's going to be a rough day. Like, Josh Hartnett is up to something. I feel like everybody was up to something. Somehow, one way or another, Clea Duvall ends up alone with Mary Beth Hutchinson. That's the dramatic music. And you're like, oh. And then she starts talking about, like, I don't know. Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson starts getting, like, really fucking weird and being like, wouldn't it be great if, like, we did this shit or whatever the fuck? And, like, this is when Clea Duvall's like, what the actual shit is going on here? And then you see, like, this giant, like, bug fucking shadow behind Mary Beth Louise. I'm sorry that that's the noise I made, but that's the sound for the bug. So it's all, like, kind of scary and freaky. And then, you know, she ends up knocking all the rest of the shit out. They do kill BB Newworth, who was the principal or something. I don't know why I even bothered bringing her up now.
It's too late.
But she was the principal. Now she's dead because Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson took the whole thing and just like, whoosh, there wasn't a lot left. And they were like, damn it, bitch, you used it all. Like, these kids are dumb. Anyway, she starts talking about how, like, you only see what I want you to see, and it shows you a flashback to, like, when they're all in Josh Hartnett's house and they're snorting the shit, you know? And then what happens is, like, you see that she used her, like, creepy, like, space finger, and it gets all, like, whoop, and, like, see, I told you that's the noise. And it does that. And then she used her creepy space finger, and she was able to open up the bottom half of the pen, and she didn't snort a damn thing. Surprised? Me too. Anyway, there's a battle. Stokely and Elijah Wood are now running for their lives. And, like, something happens with the pool. Stokely somehow ends up in the pool. And you think that she's dead because she's, like, fucking bleeding and shit. And you're like, oh, no. And then Elijah Wood is like, Stokely! But he keeps running because, like, they found the queen bee, you know? It's
Mary Beth Louise, whatever the fuck.
And she is really excited. She's like, imagine a world without pain and, like, feeling like shit and whatever. Like, imagine if you could just be a fucking zombie. She explains her world, and it was beautiful and filled with water or some shit, and that is why their little cocaine drug works.
Can I say cocaine?
Anyway, that's why it works. And she starts going on and on about, like, her home planet. It was beautiful, there was water, and then it started drying the fuck up. Do we know why? No. And then Stokely tries to help Mary Beth get him. And also, she walks around naked. I don't know why. It was just, that was a 90s thing to do. She's just nude. And she's like, because she gets out of the pool and I guess she's naked. And she's just like, there was water all over my planet, like whatever the fuck, it's dry. And you're like, bitch, you are dry. Battle ensues. Everybody is now coming for Elijah Wood because they all have the shit now. They all have the shit. I don't think Josh Hartnett has the shit, like he's just gotten jacked up. But they all have the shit now, and it's like becoming more and more obvious that like, it's Elijah Wood or nobody. This shit is about to go bad. Everyone's gonna get destroyed. And now it's up to the nerd to save the world. The nerd, guys, the nerd. Now Elijah Wood runs out into the gymnasium and he gets out there and he's like, come and get it, bitch. I don't think he says that. We're gonna move on. But he gets out there and he's just like ready for this battle. So Elijah Wood runs into the gymnasium as we had discussed before. So he's in the gymnasium, things are getting heated, and he runs underneath the bleachers. And Mary Beth Louise, whatever the fuck, starts chasing him. And she goes underneath the bleachers too. I don't know why she did that. It doesn't make any sense that she did. Like, she was a giant sea creature. Anyway, but she goes under the bleachers with him. And just when you think everything is getting bad, and it is getting bad, because she spits those things at him, whoosh, and they fall into his fucking face. And he's like, oh no. But just in time, he stabs her in the eye with some of those pens. And she's like, ah! And it doesn't look like it's worked. It doesn't look like it's worked because like he's still got the things in him. She's still moving around, but then she slowly starts to like shrivel up. And as she starts to shrivel up, then the bugs that she sprayed at Elijah Wood start coming out of his face. It's super gross and it looks very, very painful, but it's happening and you're sad for him, but also excited because guess what?
He saved the world.
We always knew it was the new girl at the end, didn't we? So she gets destroyed. Elijah Wood gets popular girl Jordana Brewster. They're now dating and it's like, oh, he saved the whole world. And then, you know, of course, Stokely ends up with Sean Hatosi. You know, they're together now. I believe he's back playing football or something, but now she's like less dark and she's cute as fuck. She was always cute, but now she's like, you know, 90s, like, I got a boyfriend now, girl. And I think that's pretty much it. That's the movie. That's The Faculty. Jon Stewart's not coming back. And oh, guess what? This is what I was talking about with the unhealthy relationship we had between teachers and students in the 90s, because Josh Hartnett is now dating hot Famke Janssen, who made it because her head did in fact connect back to her body in a timely fashion. So that is that. That is The Faculty, guys. What did you think of the movie? Did you like it? All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, I mean, you've already hit the thumbs up, but just in case you didn't, now is your time to do so. Please make sure you do that. Make sure you follow me on all my socials. Share this video. Let's hang out. I also have a Patreon that will be linked down below. I did finally get merch. Patrons had first access to it. So if you would like some merch, I will have a link down there as well. Chris, 805 Bird, this is on you. But all of you, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Be safe out there or in there. Try to, you know, drink some water because I know very few of us are doing that right now. All right, guys, thank you. Have a wonderful day. I love each and every one of you. And until next time, which will be tomorrow, deuces! Feeling like a basic bitch. But are you a basic bitch if you are using this palette? No, you're not. Oh my God, your farting is out of hand. Wow, I am looking cute today. I am proud of this look.